Hi, welcome again to our Bible study, Ecclesiastes. And this study today is on Solomon's failures. And I'll start with the reading. It says, today is our final day to peek into the behind-the-scenes life of the author Solomon. Tomorrow we will begin our studies in Ecclesiastes. So next time we meet, we're going to be studying of Ecclesiastes. Not only was Solomon the son of a king, a wise and wealthy man, but he also was famous. Let's face it, Solomon had it all. Solomon oversaw many building projects during his reign, the greatest of which was the magnificent first temple in Jerusalem, the house of the Lord. This was God's dwelling place on earth among his people for 400 years. During Solomon's reign, Israel experienced a period of peace, prosperity, and security. Solomon's fame spread throughout the world, and many came far and wide to hear his wisdom. And it refers to 1 Kings 4:34. Solomon is also known for being the author of a major portion of the wisdom literature in the Old Testament. Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs, the Song of Songs, Psalm 72, and 127, and of course, Ecclesiastes. Even though Solomon had all these great successes, he experienced some failure. Solomon did not obey God's commands given for the king. Can you believe it? After all God had done for him, he sinned in the areas of wealth and women. So the first reading is Deuteronomy 17, 16, and 17. And we're going to look at what were three of the laws God had for Israel's king. Do you mind reading that, honey?
Okay, I'm going to read from the Living Bible.
Okay.
So, starting in verse 16 of chapter 17, be sure that he doesn't build up a large stable of horses for himself, nor send his men to Egypt to raise horses for him there. For the Lord has told you, never return to Egypt again. He must not have too many wives, lest his heart be turned away from the Lord, neither shall he be excessively rich.
Okay. So some of the things that I saw there was that he was not supposed to return to Egypt, not have too many riches. What else did they say?
Not have too many wives.
Okay. Not have too many horses. So it was really specific, God was with Solomon. And it says Solomon violated the Lord's command and owned vast numbers of horses. And you can refer to that in 1 Kings 10:25 through 26 and then 28. A scripture states that silver was as common as stones in Jerusalem during his reign. And that's 1 Kings 10:27. In the area of women, Solomon had a huge problem. How many wives did he have, and what happened as a result, according to 1 Kings 11:3. So 1 Kings 11:3
states he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And sure enough, they turned his heart away from the Lord.
I know of so many spiritual leaders who began well, but did not finish well. Somewhere along the way, pride enters in and the leader falls to temptation. In the same way, we see that Solomon's life and reign began well, but did not end well. 1 Kings 11:9 through 14a states, did you want to find that and read along?
1 Kings 11.
1 Kings 11, and then it's 9 through 14a. And I can read it.
I can read.
Okay, thank you. 9 through 14a.
The Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. Although he had forbidden Solomon to follow the other gods, Solomon did not keep the Lord's command. So the Lord said to Solomon, since this is your attitude and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I commanded you, I will most certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. Nevertheless, For the sake of David, your father, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. Yet I will not tear the whole kingdom from him, but will give him one tribe for the sake of David, my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. Then the Lord raised up against Solomon an adversary, Hadad the Edomite, from the royal land of Edom.
Okay. So God had personally appeared to Solomon. He had blessed him greatly, yet Solomon failed to obey God's commands. As a result, Israel would be divided after Solomon's death because of his sins against God. So we have some discussion questions. What do we learn about God's character, his heart, and his ways regarding his relationship with Solomon? Well, I had noted that God repeatedly warned Solomon, and he was given guidelines, and Solomon didn't listen. He even worshiped other gods. Anything else, Sonny? But God did not punish him in his lifetime.
Right. I mean, he waited and he tore the kingdom out of the hand of his son.
Yes, but he still gave him one tribe. And that's because David. So that just shows how David blessed his family, to me, for generations. Because even though Solomon messed up so bad, even though he was so gifted, remember in the previous stories, the previous chapters we've read, and the Bible verses we read, that Solomon was very gifted and he had a lot, he had a lot of things. He had a lot of natural resources. He was very blessed. And even though he was blessed with all these things, he still sinned against God. And he even worshiped other gods. But because of the blessing of David, God waited until Solomon had gone and then took things away from his son, but not everything. So that's something to think about right there when we think about our own lives, I think. And what kind of blessings or curses you're passing around to your generations by your disobedience or by your obedience. What do you think?
He just didn't listen. So down the line, things happen, negative things.
Yeah. So how does this transfer in your own life? What have you learned about the character of God, his heart and his ways regarding your relationship with him?
God has mercy.
That he still loves us.
Yeah.
Even when we're disobedient.
Right.
And he wants to bless us. He wants to.
Right.
I guess you can imagine
Yeah.
A healthy parent with a child is the same way. And that's the way God's relationship is with us. You want to bless your children and you love your children. And that's how God is with us. So this is the end of the study, the background study of the author of Ecclesiastes. At the end of Solomon's life, he appears to be reviewing and reflecting upon his successes and failures. And during his time on earth under the sun, he searched for the true meaning of life and he found it. Isn't it wonderful? We don't have to go looking in all the wrong places. Solomon already did that for us. And I can't wait to get into Ecclesiastes next. So the verse for today is 2 Timothy 2:15, and you can find this on the Facebook page and on our personal pages. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. So we both pray that you have a blessed week, a blessed weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.